Speaker of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS Parliament, has said that the Parliament will ensure that the 2022 budgets of ECOWAS institutions capture the priorities of the region. Tunis made this known in Abuja at the opening of the ECOWAS Parliament's 2021 ordinary session, which focused on the examination and adoption of the 2022 budget of the community. According to him, the Parliament is expected to listen to the draft budget presentation of ECOWAS institutions, give its opinion, and make proposals and amendments where necessary. He emphasized that the Parliament, in its powers, will ensure that budgets reflect promotion of democracy, rule of law, peace and conflict resolutions, the fight against terrorism, poverty reduction, and climate change.
This session, otherwise known as a budget session, provides opportunity in accordance with the provisions of the Supplementary Act for Parliament to consider the community's budget. Specifically, the Parliament is expected to ensure that the estimates are directed towards programs that address the needs of the people. Here, I make specific reference to Article 17.2a, which states that after the consideration of the budget by the Administration and Finance Committee, AFC, the report of the AFC on the budget shall be presented to Parliament during the parliamentary budget session. In fulfillment of this statutory responsibility, we are expected to render opinion, including where necessary, proposals for the amendment to the draft community budget. As we position ourselves to perform this sacred task, I expect that we will translate the vision with which we approach this exercise into goals that are consistent with regional and global dynamics. Included in this process should be the formulation of policy framework and identification of sequential measures of structural change that need to be taken to achieve the overarching goals of sustainable growth and development. We should ensure that allocation of resources reflect real priorities. It is also not enough that the budget surmounts the immediate threats brought upon us by COVID-19. It should also advance efforts to make progress on other fronts and priorities which our region continues to value: democracy, rule of law, peace and conflict resolution, the fight against terrorism, poverty reduction, and climate change.
In his remarks, Mr. Jean-Claude, President of the ECOWAS Commission, said that the extraordinary session of the Parliament on examining the draft budget of ECOWAS institutions was critical to the administration of the community's activities, especially at the time when judicious use of resources in all ECOWAS institutions was of greater importance. He also noted that the ECOWAS Commission would be available to shed more light on its draft budget when called upon.
I'm happy to recall that in conformity with the relevant provisions, this session will be dedicated to examining the report of the Administration and Finance Committee on the 2022 budget. At the end of this sittings of the AFC, which is ongoing currently, you will be called upon to examine the draft budget of 2022 of a community. This draft budget will take into account the important institutional reforms as decided by their excellencies, the heads of states of our sub-region, and especially as it concerns a reduction in the operational cost of our institutions. You will notice the importance of this parliamentary session, which would help to set the tone for the objectives of the institutions through the credits that will be allocated to them, especially in the key sectors of health with the fight against COVID-19, as well as the social and economic development sector of our sub-region. I would like to assure you that this draft budget of 2022 is coming at a time of great attention, especially with premium placed on judicious use of resources. Indeed, a number of protocols and texts in the various sectors of intervention of ECOWAS will be submitted to you for your consideration and adoption. As in the previous years, the ECOWAS, the commissioners of ECOWAS will be available to you to bring every possible information and shed light on whatever questions you may have.